So usually Todd counts us down. I'm going to give it till 6:05, and that should give people time. So 2 more minutes, and then we'll get going. I'm seeing some more people trickle in, so it's nice to see some names popping up. Okay, 6:05. I'm going to go ahead and go back over the controls on this meeting. And just so everyone's aware, we will be recording this meeting tonight. It'll be available on YouTube, and we will make it available on the Leisure Services Listens page. And that is www.accgov.com/leisure services listens. When you click on the Princeton launch project, you'll be able to view this video. It might take us a little bit of time to get it uploaded, but be patient. We should have it uploaded shortly after the meeting, probably tomorrow, I would think. So just so you guys know, this is available YouTube. So if you have anyone who's not able to attend, but you would like to show them the meeting or share the presentation with them, that's a great way to do it. You can also fill out the survey online on Leisure Services Listens. And if you do have comments for the open-ended comment portion of the survey that are a little more than what the characters will allow in the box, you can email those to parkplanning@accgov.com, or you can email those directly to me, melinda.cochran@accgov.com. For this meeting tonight, this is a WebEx event, so there's a few different ways that you'll be able to engage with us. We've got staff on hand. As I said earlier, I'm Mel Cochran Davis. I'm with Leisure Services, and I'll be talking through the project tonight. Melanie McElroy and Amy Cheek are both on board to help moderate the meeting and help make sure we get all the questions answered and everyone gets their chance to get out there and share any thoughts they have about this project. You can do that in one of 3 ways. We have a chat feature, so you can type your messages in chat, and then Amy or Melanie can read that, and I'll go ahead and answer. We also have a Q&A section, which is not quite as efficient as the chat, but you can use that if you like. And then if you would like to ask a question live, you can go ahead and raise your hand. And if you look on your screen, you should see a circle with 3 dots in it, or it looks like a person with 3 dots. If you click that, there'll be a feature that says, if you hover over it, looks like a little hand. It says raise hand. You can raise your hand, and Amy or Melanie can unmute you and allow you to get that question out there, and then we'll answer it. And once everything's done, go ahead and lower your hand unless you have another question. So that's how we can move through it. But give me a few minutes. I just want to walk through kind of what this project is and where we're at now, and go ahead and discuss some of the next steps. And then you guys can ask all the questions you want. We've got plenty of time. So let's go ahead and get into this. So this project is what we are calling as part of a SPLOST 2020 Water Trails effort, and that is part of the SPLOST 2020 project list. It is part of the Middle Oconee Water Trail. Many of you may be familiar with the launch that's at Ben Burton Park, and that is a launch we built a few years ago with some grant funding, and that provides a nice access point to the Middle Oconee River. but currently we don't have a way to get out of the river, so we don't have a complete water trail. What we've been looking for, and we've spent a number of years looking for a site, is a nice takeout point so that we have our first section of the Middle Oconee River Water Trail. And so this is where we have this launch site off of the Macon Highway. I'm sharing my screen so you should be able to see the plan. The project consists of a small 9 parking spot parking area. And then there will be bollards located at the beginning of the trail where you would walk your canoe or kayak down, come down, and then launch it into the river. And this is for canoes and kayaks only. This is a non-motorized boat launch. We have some canoe slides designed in to make it easier for the people that have heavier boats, and kind of a style coming down the bank into the river. We're looking at just having a couple of trees, very basic. And because we are pursuing a small easement for the parking lot and then using GDOT right-of-way for this section, we aren't going to be, even though it looks, you know, in this bright color that we're maintaining a lot more of this, we're really only in the envelope of these features that you see here. The rest of this stays as is. And if you've been out there, you know, there's some pretty steep topography and some vegetation, a lot of kudzu there. But this is what we are looking at, the basics of the plan. Right now, we do have a couple of seating boulders shown, and those are something that we have at the Van Burton launch as well. It's just a spot for people to, you know, catch their breath, sit a minute, if they need to change their shoes, whatever they need to do as they're working on their boat, getting it in or out of the water for their paddle trip for the day. So if you're not quite familiar with what we're talking about, kind of off the screen to the upper right is Lumpkin, and then this is where you can see the blue is the Middle Oconee River and the Macon Highway Bridge. So this parking area for this is directly off the Macon Highway Bridge. This is a project that we've had in concept for a while, but only recently have been able to actually discuss as something that could actually happen thanks to funding through SPLOST 2020. It's been a part, the water trails have been part of the Greenway Network Plan since 2016 when we started incorporating those in as part of a Greenway Corridor project. And as part of SPLOST, what we're doing before we go forward to the Mayor and Commission for this project is opening this project up for public input to hear what people think for this period. It's a 2-week period of time where people can comment online. And then it gives us some time to listen, hear what people have said, see if we need to make any design adjustments or anything, tweak that design, and then move forward. And we'll be presenting this to the Mayor and Commission at their April work session, which is the second Tuesday in April. And then they would be voting on it the following Tuesday, the third Tuesday in April. This is a little bit of a faster process than normal just because we have a wonderful opportunity to pursue a grant through the Land and Water Conservation Fund. It would be a 50% match of our SPLOST dollars for this project. So that's very exciting for us because it stretches our dollars further, and it's a really nice fit for this grant proposal. We've gotten the concept out there, and so this is kind of a concept and a preliminary plan that we're working on for Mayor and Commission. But in order to be eligible for this grant to get the application in, we've got a fairly tight deadline, but we're working through all of this and hoping that we can, in fact, match 50% of the project cost through a grant, which is a wonderful opportunity. And with that, I know some of you, we've had 2 public input sessions that were in person. I've heard some concerns from the surrounding neighborhoods, and we're looking at those and seeing what's coming in through the public input. We will be taking all of those answers like into an account. We'll be analyzing what we're getting, what we're seeing as far as themes, concerns, and issues. And then as a group, we're going to be looking at how we can make any changes that would help with the project to address concerns. And I indicated to one of the community members on Saturday that I'm more than happy to come out next week, probably the 7th or the 8th, and come out in person, and we can look at the site, or I can come out to the neighborhood, whatever you need, to talk to you about more concerns and to talk to you about if we are making changes, what they are and what it looks like. So that way you can see how the public input has gone. So I know there was a lot of questions from the surrounding neighborhoods. So that is something that we can go ahead and do as far as conversations go. But with that, I wanted to keep my piece short and go ahead and open the floor to questions. So again, if you have a question, please enter it in chat. You can virtually raise your hand and ask the question live, or you can use the Q&A feature.
Hi, Mel. It's Melanie. We have a question from Jenna King. Approximately how long is the trail from Ben Burton to this takeout? That would be the water trail portion, I believe.
Oh gosh, the actual water miles? That is actually a good question. Something I will have to check into or see if I think we might have a couple of paddlers on tonight. Maybe they may be getting through the question if they could type it in chat. I know it's a good paddle trip, but I cannot remember the river miles, but I can get that and put that back out there. I'm sorry. Thank you. And we have another question.
Mel, yes. Cassidy Lord has her hand raised. Cassidy, I'm going to unmute you.
Hi, thanks for the opportunity to comment. I am Cassidy Lord. I am the president of the Upper Oconee Watershed Network, and I am an avid paddler in the Athens area. I just wanted to express UON support for this project. We are really excited at the opportunity of having a takeout point for this trail. Recreation has just been growing throughout this region, and this is a really big economic opportunity for Athens to get a lot of interest and a lot of visitors. You know, we are a very well-known area for our football team and our music scene, and it would be great to be well-known for our paddling scene as well. So I just wanted to express my support both as president of the Upper Oconee Watershed Network and as a paddler in the Athens community. Thanks.
Thank you, Cassidy. This is Melanie. Do you happen to know what that mileage might be from Ben Burton to this proposed takeout?
Give me 2 seconds. I just asked my husband and he texted it to me. So let me look at my text messages and I will throw it in the chat.
That's
Well,
great. I appreciate it.
We've got a lot of excited folks because I've already gotten an answer in 6 miles.
Yeah.
There you go. 6 miles from Ben Burton to Macon Highway.
All right. And Cassidy, if you have another question, we can leave you unmuted, or if you are finished, if you'll just lower your hand and let us, you can raise it again if you have another question later.
Sure, thanks. I'm done for now. I appreciate the opportunity.
Of course. Thank you for being here. We have one additional question from Michael McClendon. What is the usage of the ramp at Ben Burton and the projected usage at the Princeton Mill ramp?
Currently, we don't have usage numbers because we haven't had the full water trail. We don't have trail counters out there. So I am not sure of the usage numbers at Ben Burton. And projected use for this, I would expect that this would be pretty popular with paddlers who would like that opportunity to have a safe place to take out. Right now, there's a little bit of, it seems like, choose your own adventure with finding a way out of the river once you get in, unless you're using the outfitter. But for just personal boaters, I plan to install counters for this launch as well as the Ben Burton so we can start getting a good idea of those numbers.
All right, Mel, we have another Q&A. This one is from, well, and also I wanted to share that Alex Harvey, he said the river's 5 miles. So maybe we've got a little work to do to exactly measure that out. Next question is from Jenna King. She says, I am an avid paddler, member of the Athens Paddling Group, so I'm very supportive of this effort and development. Paddlers in our group are helpful in keeping the river clean, and I think making it more accessible will provide more support. Our previous takeouts were tedious. Thank you for this plan and development.
Okay, thank you.
Next, Michael McClendon has his hand raised. So Michael, I will unmute you for your question. All right, you are unmuted.
Thank you. I'm president of the Princeton Mill Townhome Owners Association. I thank you for the opportunity to speak with some of you on Saturday, but we have an awful lot of questions that remain unanswered. I'm a little bit surprised that the project has gotten this far when you don't have a good handle on how many people are going to use the project, the ramp. But since you say it's going to be very popular, that reinforces our concern about traffic and congestion on an intersection and piece of road that's already heavily traveled. So it was not clear to me from our discussion Saturday if you have done a traffic analysis or one is going to be done. I would appreciate some clarification.
Absolutely. And currently in the stage of process we are at with the grant, DNR is doing a site review process, and that includes not only the wildlife reviews, but also a review with GDOT on a traffic, and then if that will determine whether or not a traffic analysis is going to be required for this project. But at this time, we do not have one.
Am I still on?
You are, so you have the floor for now.
Oh, thank you. I guess I'm a little disappointed in that response, because this project seems to have gotten pretty far down the road without a traffic analysis. And anybody who lives in that particular area knows that traffic is a major problem at that intersection, going back up Lumpkin as well as on both sides of Macon Highway. So will we be able to see this analysis before the work session on the second Tuesday in April?
We are not sure if a traffic analysis is going to be required yet. That is going through it is going through a site review with the DNR, and that does include a GDOT analysis. So we're waiting for the results of that. I am not sure of the timeline, if we will have that prior to the work session or not.
Well, it just seems to me, speaking for the homeowners here who are impacted, will be impacted by this, that such an analysis should be done. And the local community, the people who traverse these roads, should be engaged in that analysis process.
Understand, and I am planning to speak with our local folks here at the planning department and see if they have any comments, anything to weigh in outside of GDOT. So that will be updated as this process goes on.
Mr. McClendon, do you have any further questions or statements at this time?
I'll let others ask. I'll be quiet for a little bit.
Thank you for your comments, sir. Next, we have Gilbert Milner. Oh, I'm sorry, give me just one moment. All right, Mr. Milner, you are unmuted.
Okay, I have several questions about this, more particularly the traffic situation there is extraordinarily difficult. I spent 7 years getting Athens-Clarke County and the DOT to put a stoplight there at the intersection, given the fact you could not make a left-hand turn out of this until one of the commissioners or council members had to go somewhere, and he came out here and tried to make the left-hand turn, and he realized that what I was suggesting is something that was absolutely necessary, given the amount of traffic that comes in from Oconee County and into UGA area, and then that group trying to leave there and go back home. It's just a very highly traveled roadway, particularly in that section. And I think this is a very dangerous place to put something of this magnitude right there. On the other hand, I am a resident that joins this piece of property, and the amount of activity there, I think has an impact on our neighborhood. I know one of the neighbors in the townhouse has just spoken to you, but I'm right across from it, so I see every bit of it that's going on. And I find it difficult to understand why the church, if not has objected to it, or at least shown some concern about it, have not done so at this point. I just think there's a lot more that needs to be done relative to determining what the impact on this is really going to be at that location in order to move forward with it. I think it's just premature to make a decision without all that information in place. So that's my opinion of it. And I appreciate y'all's efforts, but I think this is the wrong place to do it. The other thing I want to mention to you is, on the opposite side of the road, right there at the bridge, there's another organization that's already doing what you are talking about doing here. So I don't know what the necessity is to have another one. Oh, I'm a resident in Princeton Mill. Oh, the other thing I meant to tell you is that the utilization of Princeton Mill is restricted, given that I own that name of the Princeton Corporation, who I am, and the developer of that had that registered name style, so that should not and cannot be and would not be permitted to be used as a point of designation or description of where this is located, because it's not on any of our property. So I appreciate y'all taking that into consideration. That's a legal matter.
Okay. Thank you for that. And I am hearing that you guys are concerned about the traffic analysis. So I think that is something we can do on our own, but we're going to have to wait and follow GDOT's lead on that. And like I said, I don't know the timeline for that. It is only 9 parking spaces, and it's not the type of activity that has a lot of kind of in and outs. So the impact of that versus a commercial development, I do think would be less. But if that is a big concern of the neighborhood, that's something we can definitely look into. And that's what I'm hearing. As far as the name is concerned, now we understand that that is an issue, and that is something that we can explore, which is a renaming of the site. I understand and hear you on that one. I do want to show you, we have spent a lot of time looking up and down the Middle Oconee River for suitable sites. And this is the one that we found that was feasible, understanding that there is a private property owner across the way that is operating their own business out of there. That is not a public launch or publicly accessible. It's tied to that business. So that is not something that we can use. But if you've seen, there are paddlers on the river now using that. So this is something that is for someone who owns their own kayak or canoe and is looking for a way in and out of the river. So I hope that helps clear up a little bit of that.
Right. I understood that, and I think that's for pay to get in there. Is there going to be a fee in order for people to launch there at your site?
Our site, no, we do not charge fees.
Okay. Well, I'm sure they'll be happy to hear that they're going to have somebody that's going to do it for free. That should finish them up.
Well, they still have to own a boat. So the people who are paying for the boat rentals, they would be going as part of that service.
Sure, I understand.
Mr. Milner, if you do you have any further thoughts or comments?
I would oppose this just because I am a neighbor, and the more traffic that's brought to the area, the least I like it. I developed Princeton Mill, and it's a nice, quiet residential property, and I think all of the homeowners in there would probably have the same feeling that I have relative to that. Although I understand you have a right to do what you want to with your property, but I think the impact that it would have on a quiet residential neighborhood would probably be something that I'd want to consider. Every time I've done a development, I've talked to everybody in the neighborhood about what I'm going to do, how it's going to look and how I think it would impact them and get their feedback before I went forward with it. So that's just the way I do business. And I think it's the right thing to do, and I see that you're opening this up now for us to have some input into it. And I would not be overly happy to see something like this take place.
All right. Yes, sir. Well, thank you so much for sharing your thoughts. If you would, if you can lower your hand on the platform, and then we do have a few other folks that have comments. I'm going to mute you for now, but let me know if you have any other questions. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
All right, next, I believe Alex Harvey was next, and so I'm going to go ahead and mute you or unmute you. Thank you.
Thanks, Melanie. Can y'all hear me all right? Great. I was really interested to hear about the concerns about traffic from the folks that live in Princeton Mill, and it's really great to hear someone who actually was instrumental in developing that beautiful neighborhood. I live on the other side of the river from you guys. I live off of Timothy Road and Fox Trace. I'm a paddler, been living in Athens since 1996. I just want to note a few things to hopefully alleviate your concerns about traffic. One, if you note that the parking lot, it's really the size of a tiny restaurant parking lot. I'll probably comment more on this later, but it probably needs to be a little bit bigger. The other thing is that to shuttle the river, when you run a section of river, you have to leave a car at the takeout, and then you drive up with your boats to the put-in. And that would be Ben Burton. And if you look at Google Maps, the quickest way to do that is to cross the river and then head up Timothy Road. And you take Timothy Road to Mitchell Bridge, and that gets to Ben Burton. So the traffic for shuttling cars and boats would be on my side of the river, not on the Princeton Mills side. And maybe we'll notice a little more traffic, but I think that'd be kind of cool because it'll be kayaks and canoes going up and down the road along Timothy Road, and that'd be kind of neat. But really, I don't think you'll notice any difference in traffic. You may notice people pulling in and out of that parking lot, and that might slow you down by 10 seconds, 20 seconds. And I think that's something where hopefully everyone's slowing down their lives anyway. So and also we've been using this access point really for years. We've been parking legally on the right of way and taking out. We've been doing this for over 20 years on this section of river and have no complaints from anyone about traffic or anything. As a matter of fact, 2 years ago, we did a river cleanup and we pulled out about 1.5 tons of trash and left it on the side of the road there. And the county came along and picked it up. And again, everyone was really kind of just stopping to ask questions, and we told them what we were doing. And we were pulling trash out of the river. The trash, by the way, was mostly stuff that seemed to have washed in from houses that are along the road. There were a lot of furniture, tires, things like that, not trash that seemed to be of river use, which is mostly beer cans. We fortunately did not see a lot of beer cans. So I think that's going to be another advantage. Well, that's something that we've been doing for a long time, is cleaning the section of river, especially along your section. I'm speaking to the Princeton Mill residents along that bank there. There's a lot of trash that accumulates there, and we do try and pick that up so to keep it nice and clean. So I just wanted to say that I'll have some more comments later about the actual design of the access. But I just wanted to say those few things right now, just about to alleviate the traffic concerns. I hope that helps. And I don't know how to mute myself, but.
Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Harvey. If you're finished, if you'll just lower your hand and feel free to raise it if something else comes to mind. I believe, and I apologize, I'm not sure who was next. I do see a comment by Mr. McClendon, and then also Cassidy Lord. I think we'll just go alphabetical. I guess Ms. Lord, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Sure, thanks. I missed the opportunity earlier to commend the county on leveraging their SPLOST funds in this really innovative way to get the land and water conservation grant. I think this is really smart, and I think it's a great framework for other counties to replicate. You know, this is a very competitive grant, and I think it speaks very highly of the various departments across Clarke County that have worked on this project to get this far into the grant process. So huge, you know, commendation to Clarke County in doing that. And I also wanted to commend the county in creating this accessible outdoor opportunity. You know, as was mentioned, there's not a point-to-point water trail that exists in Athens. So in order to have that type of experience, you have to pay to rent kayaks through the local outfitter. So this is really providing an opportunity for a lot of people who wouldn't have the economic means to participate in kayak rentals. So, you know, it's easy to find an inner tube or rent or borrow a boat from a friend to go do this paddle. And by having these free points in the watershed, we're really creating recreational opportunities for people who wouldn't participate with their environment in that way. So I also just wanted to piggyback on what Alex said regarding recreational users removing trash from the waterway. I've served on the Rivers Alive committee for a number of years. I no longer serve on it, but for 4 years in a row, I believe, we worked on pulling tires out of this specific section of river. And we've pulled over 200 tires out in just a couple of years. And these were old legacy tires that had been in the river since the 60s and 70s. They're old white walls. So we, as paddlers, are providing, you know, a big service to the environment, to the ecosystem of the river. And, you know, that improves the experience of other paddlers. So thanks for the opportunity to comment again.
Wonderful. Thank you, Ms. Lord. All right, next, Mr. McClendon, I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Thank you. I just wanted to kind of tag along on Mr. Milner's comment, if I may, and the gentleman that lives off of Timothy Road. The traffic on Timothy Road is a little bit different than the traffic is on South Lumpkin Street and the intersection of Old Macon Highway. It's not unusual for traffic to be backed up beyond James White Lane, sometimes all the way to the Methodist Church up on the hill, St. James Methodist Church. Sometimes I can't get out of James White Lane. So any initiative that's going to create more traffic is not going to do anything to mitigate the current problem that we have. It's just going to exacerbate it. The other thing I'd say, it's not just vehicular traffic, it's people traffic. When you put ramps into water and create places for people to congregate, they become magnets. And so we already have, not to be pejorative, but Redneck Beach right up the road. We already have a lot of people who walk up and down South Millage, even though that there are no sidewalks. So I see this as a magnet to draw college students and others because they will have access to the water. So that brings up some issues to us that relate to security and safety. So it's just not vehicular traffic, it's also people traffic, and it being a magnet for people to gather there and also potentially to increase the homeless population in that area, which we already have a challenge with up behind the Methodist Church. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McClendon. We had a question from Diane Windham in the chat. She asked, has the traffic been impacted by the outfitter? I'm not sure if that's directed towards leisure services staff or neighbors. or just to bring it up as something to consider, but it was asked.
I'm not sure of the answer on that, but maybe Mr. McClendon or Mr. Milner might have some comments on that.
And I see Mr. McClendon's hand is raised, so I'm going to go ahead and unmute you again.
Thank you. I'll just share my personal experience with that. As you know, where the commercial outfitter is on the right coming from Watkinsville. It's a lower area. There's an incline to go from that lower area. It's a little dirt road to come up onto the Macon Highway. There have been near accidents there because when you come up that incline, it's very difficult to see oncoming traffic. And it's also very difficult to see anyone who's about to pull into that road. So it just kind of reinforces the whole idea that you're now going to have another entranceway on the other side of the bridge. So that can't help but increase safety concerns.
At this moment, I think we're caught up. If I've overlooked something, please let me know. Raise your hand, or if I've overlooked a question or a chat, please feel free to post it again and it'll pop to the top. All right, I see a hand up by Mr. Milner. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
I just wanted to ask a question. Will we have an opportunity, that being those of us who have concerns about this project, will we have an opportunity to speak to the commissioners when, whenever their next meeting is held? Is there any way we can address them?
There is public input that is part of the, that would be part of the third Tuesday meeting, but anytime between now and then, you can contact your commissioner freely to discuss any thoughts or anything you have about the project. And email them. I know their emails and everything are available on the website. Give them a call. They're always open and ready to listen to their constituents.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. That answers my question.
All right, thank you, Mr. Milner. I'm going to go ahead and mute you again. We've got a comment in the chat from Cassidy Lord. This ramp will dramatically decrease risk to paddlers who have to park on the side of the busy highway to access the river. Mel, do you want to talk a little bit about the survey that's available on the website?
Sure. If we're waiting for a few more questions to roll in, if you guys haven't been, the map I'm sharing is actually available on our Leisure Services Listens webpage. If you click the Princeton Mill project, I'm going to back up a page or two so you can see how to get to it. Well, there we go. So this is the Princeton Mill page. You have a brief description of the project, the map which you can click on. You have our public meetings identified here, and then on the right there is the opportunity to comment on the Princeton Mill launch project. And that does close at 11:59 on April 4th, 11:59 p.m. So this does present an opportunity for you guys to get your comments in. And like I said, if you have more open comment than what the survey will allow, you can email that to parkplanning@accgov.com. And then that way your comments can get incorporated in, or you can send them directly to me, melinda.cochran@accgov.com. And you can see up here, accgov.com/leisure services listens is the web page. And let's see if we got any more questions rolling in.
Yeah, so it looks like Mr. Harvey's hand is up. I'm going to go ahead and unmute you.
Hey, in terms of the design of the ramp and the parking lot, when specifically can we comment on that, or when is the appropriate time to comment on the design?
If you have comments on the design, now is the time to comment while we are open for the public comment. You can put it, if you have some detailed comments that you would like to give, it's probably best to email those to those email addresses, like I said, to parkplanning@accgov.com, or sending those to me.
Okay.
And
Okay.
you can, I mean, you can, if you want to go ahead and look at a little bit of it through here, we can, but also it would be helpful if they are design related. And that is something we are, as a result of public input, going to look at the designs and see how we need to tweak. And we've heard a lot of concern about the safety issues. So we're looking at things like an excluder arm or other opportunities to provide more security to the parking lot.
Okay. In terms of the ramp, it looks like it's not a design based on a river ramp. It's based on a lake ramp. Is that correct?
This has been designed by our in-house landscape architect as a basic concept layout, and understanding that we will need to tweak this once we get to the next level of design. We have been working with some engineers to get some engineered solutions for this. So I would be interested in any launch point that we do from any part of the water trails to hear about good river designs and how we can improve.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just want to note this is not appropriate design for a river.
Okay.
Yeah, and just a note, the cars do not go all the way down this this part down to the river. Cars are only allowed and to stay up at the parking lot area. There'll be bollards at the top of the path that comes down to the water access.
Yeah, I understand. It's just I've seen hundreds of access points, and I can tell you that the way this design, it will fail more quickly than Ben Burton failed.
Yeah. So we will.
And Melinda, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we've been working on the scouring issue at Ben Burton and trying to get some gravel and things in there. So this is, we are having engineers work on the final design for that. This is a high level concept of saying this is the type of thing we're trying to do here.
Okay.
It's, you know, when there's a lot of concerns about this has gotten pretty far down the road, this is as far as we've gotten down the road, which is a high level concept.
Okay.
And, you know, it's, we understand it needs refinement and everything, but this is something we've got to get through. We're waiting to see what happens with the grant before we go really deep into the next steps of the design process. And
Gotcha.
we're working with engineers, and we will be voting on the major design decisions through our user group.
Yeah, building the actual launch part that goes into the water, it's not rocket science. There's lots of examples of how it works and how it doesn't. I think I shared some of that with Diane of cheaper, easier solutions. This one looks complicated and it will probably fail. The only other thing I would note, I think you guys have already received comments like this, you need some more room in the parking lot for a trailer pull around. A lot of paddlers use trailers these days. And that will make it safer for everyone from a traffic point of view and make it more usable. Right now, I don't see any way to get a trailer in and out of this lot. Is that correct?
You would need an empty parking space to back into because it's a hammerhead end on the parking area.
Okay. I think there's room to expand it a little bit more. So just a heads up that a trailer will be, a trailer or some kind of trailer, a space for backing a trailer will be needed. That's all I got.
Great. Well, thank you, Mr. Harvey. If you want to go ahead and lower your hand and I'll mute you, but feel free to raise it again as more things come. Thank you. I believe Mr. Milner had his hand up, and then also and Windham has a comment after that. So, Mr. Milner, you are unmuted.
Well, thank you. I wanted to say to all of those people who use the river to kayak and do the lights, I know they've been the river keepers for a long time and they've done a great job doing it. And in my comments, I have absolutely no concern at all about people using the river the way they have. They've been great stewards of the river and great stewards of joining property. But let me make this comment again, and this is important. It came up to me that there was a project going on in Princeton Mill about this river access thing. And I said, no, we're not doing anything. It points out something that people thought that Princeton Mill was involved in this project. That is not the case. Again, the name Princeton Mill is a registered name. Nobody else has the right to use that name for any purposes of location, given the fact that this property that's being developed for this purpose is not in Princeton Mill, nor is it a part of the Princeton Mill development. And that's a legal issue that y'all need to realize. You don't have a right to do that. You don't have a right to call this Princeton Mill launch or whatever it is. I own that name. And I'm not trying to be a horse's rear end about it. I'm just trying to make it clear to you that you're violating my property rights to that name.
In the whole neighborhood.
In the whole neighborhood. So I'm going to ask you to cease and desist from referring to this project as the Princeton Mill project, because you have no legal right to do that, and we have nothing to do with this project. That name does not belong to you.
You're too confused.
And the neighbors are upset about this too, because people think that they're coming into our neighborhood looking for where this thing is going to be. So I think you should probably take the opportunity to talk to legal counsel about what is taking place here, and let's get that resolved. Because again, you don't have any legal right to use that name.
Understood.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Milner. Miss Windham, Mr. Milner, if unless you have a further comment, go ahead and lower your hand.
I've lowered it. Thank you.
I'm trying to.
All right.
There we go.
Thank you.
Okay.
All right, Diane, you are unmuted.
I wanted to use this opportunity to follow up on Cassidy Lord's comment about the only option that paddlers have right now after they get in at Ben Burton to exit the river is to park on the right-of-way on the side of the road and stay on the right-of-way as they pull their boats up to their vehicles. And that is perfectly legal within the state of Georgia, but it's not very safe. And that is our whole reason for wanting to provide safe public access to the river. I'm a member of Athens Paddlers. They do frequent paddling trips on this section of the river. I'm also on the Rivers Alive Committee, and we do annual cleanups of this section of the river at least once a year and more frequently twice a year. And it's dangerous to have to park on such a heavily trafficked road. And therefore, the launch will provide a real service to the people who are using the river. And I'd like to see this project move forward. Thank you.
All right, thank you, Ms. Windham. If you'll, you can lower your hand unless you have further thoughts, but we appreciate your feedback. I don't believe I see any other hands up or questions. So if you have a thought, oh, I apologize, Rachel Triple, you are unmuted.
Thank you so much for the opportunity to speak about this issue. I am one of the homeowners whose backyard is against the river, and we love the kayakers and think they're fun, and we do our own canoeing upriver, and we are certainly in support of people enjoying nature and think that that's a wonderful thing. We have, as a homeowner group, in addition to the very serious problems that we have had with increased crime in our neighborhood, the Glenwood neighborhood, the Five Points neighborhood, we have had to significantly increase surveillance, personal surveillance for every house in this neighborhood. And police, we have to have the police come in. We have had significant issue already. And we have concern about people. We have had people last week stop in the circle and get out with their I don't know, it's a kayak or something in the back of their truck, looking for access down to the river. And so I do think that since there's a name, and Mr. Milner, of course, is a neighbor of ours, and that is, you know, his name that he has the right to. But the signage outside on Lumpkin Street brings people straight in here. And it makes sense, you know, if you're going toward the river and you're kind of following along, you know, there it is. And it is an incorrect and is a misusage of the area. And so we're concerned about that. And then I don't know where this project will go going forward, but I think we're all aware of the significant issues. Has nothing at all to do with kayakers or canoers or those using the river in a wonderful way. Has to do with people stopping by the side of the road at midnight, 2 a.m, you know, that kind of issue. And there has to be, whether it's here or somewhere else, the security must be paramount just for general usage. And I hope that that will be taken into effect to keep that area, wherever it is, safe for the people who are using it and off limits when it's not in use. Thank you.
Great, thank you, Ms. Tribble. If you wanted to lower your hand, and feel free to raise it again if you have another question down the road.
And I'll add just really quick, based on Ms. Tribble's, nice to see you on here too. I was glad to get the opportunity to talk with you at the input. We are looking at what we can do for the concerns with the neighborhood in relation to safety and the design, just as we would be looking at how to improve the access to the river, looking at how we can improve the safety of the parking area and everything as well. So we appreciate feedback and hearing from you. Is there any other questions or comments?
Thank you.
Okay, I know it's not fun to sit here in the silence, but I want to give people a few more minutes to have a chance to ask a question or comment before we wrap it up. So we'll just give a few minutes here. Okay, well, right now it doesn't seem like anyone has any additional questions. So I'm going to take a few minutes just to walk you through next steps for anyone that came in after the start of the meeting. So next steps, we are going to be taking comments online through 11:59 p.m. April 4th. So please take time to comment if you haven't already, and contact anyone else you know that would be interested in this project. Invite them to the Leisure Services Listens page to look at the project and comment themselves. We will be taking all of the data we're collecting from that survey, and then any email comments that are sent in, we'll be running a data analysis on those and putting together the common themes we're hearing in the concerns, in the issues, and the support, and all of the different things we're hearing, pull those together, and we will have a report of public input results. I'm working on, excuse me, the pollen is getting me here. I'm working on a presentation and everything that'll be going forward. But first we need to take, after we've gotten the public input, we're going to be working on the design and making any tweaks that we can make based on public input. And if those of you that are you know, concerned about any of these things directly, and if you'd like for me to come out and meet with the neighborhood, I'm happy to do it again. You know, next week, just let me know. You can send me an email and we can talk through things, and I can show you if we're making any design changes, what we're looking at. And so then we'll be working toward the second Tuesday in April, presenting this project to the Mayor and Commission at their work session, and they will be voting the following Tuesday. This is something, there was the question about how to reach out. You're always, I think their email and inboxes are all constituents. So if you have things you would like to say to your commissioners, I encourage you to do so. And then as far as this is concerned, like I said, we're moving forward through that Mayor and Commission cycle from a larger perspective. We are trying to pursue this Land and Water Conservation Fund grant to match 50% of the funds. And this is a SPLOST 2020 funded project, part of the water trails, and this would be the first completed section of the Middle Oconee River Water Trail. And we'll be looking into, you know, further down the road, once we get a Middle Oconee Water Trail finished, and looking at other potential water trail sites in the county in the future. But this is a great opportunity with this one to be able to complete the Middle Oconee River Water Trail, as well as pursue a grant that would match 50% of the funds for the construction. And this is a high-level concept you're seeing here. We will be working on engineers for any further detailed design considerations, but we are waiting to see what happens with the grant process before we move this project any further. So does anyone have any questions about next steps or process from there?
All right, Mel, I think it doesn't seem like anybody has any questions.
Yeah, so
Okay.
with that, I think at this point we're going to wrap it up. Just as a reminder, this survey's open. It's available on Leisure Services Listens. That's accgov.com/leisure services listens. A recording of this meeting will be available. You can share it with anyone that wasn't able to make it tonight, and then also use as a way to point them in the direction of the survey so we can get a nice robust public comment on this project, and we can have a chance to listen to what people think, concerns, issues, everything, and then work on making this project work better for everyone. With that, I think we're going to call it a night. I appreciate everyone taking time out of their day to kind of spend an hour or so here talking about this project and sharing. I appreciate all of you, and I'm glad to see that we have passionate people on both sides that are engaging and interested in what's happening in the community. Thank you, and have a good evening.